look at my phone, there was a text from her, and it said, I have stage 4 colon cancer.
Just like that?
Just like that. And it took me out. I went into the kids' room. I woke up my oldest daughter, and I just hugged her, and I just started crying. She couldn't understand why.
What was happening?
Yeah, but it rocked me, man. Like, I never got hit like that, emotionally. And I didn't know you could grieve a living person, but you can. So a lot of my grief started 2 years ago. The biggest decision you'll make is who your partner is, because if you get with the wrong person, your trajectory is screwed.
Or even in moments like what you experience when they say in sickness and in health, right? I could imagine certain people wouldn't be able to endure what you endured or what other people have endured with a sick spouse.
I don't think I would have been able to endure, but when you have kids and you have to run a household and the bills still got to get paid, you figure it out. I'm the best version of myself that I've ever been. It came at a price. It came at a very big price. I'm the best father I've ever been. I'm the best man that I've ever been. Just every version of myself. The man that my wife has always wanted, I became. But I would give up the best version of myself to have my wife again. So a lot of times, we want all these things, but some of those things come at a very big price.
All right, Demetrius, so we're here. Thank you for just coming onto the podcast to talk about a very sensitive topic. Recently, you lost your wife who was battling with cancer, and you decided you want to talk about your grief story with us. So thank you for just being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. How are you feeling about having this conversation today?
I feel all right. I did a lot of let me back up. So she was battling the cancer for 2 years, and I guess I started grieving while she was still alive. And I didn't know you could grieve a living person, but you can. So a lot of my grief started 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. Kicked my ass. And you got your, I guess, okay days now, and the not so okay days. You have your moments. But I think doing the grieving, it was a weird time, right? Because on one side you're getting pulled, you want to be hopeful, right?
Yeah.
Even though the chances or the prognosis that we were given was like in the teens, because it was caught pretty late. So on one end, you want to be hopeful, so you're getting pulled on the hopeful side. But on the other end, you also understand what you're facing and what the chances are. So you're kind of getting pulled in different directions. One day you're hopeful, and the next day you're just going through it. So that went on for 2 years, and it.
I guess before we tap into what the 2 years looked like, how have you been the past couple of weeks?
Numb.
Numb.
I've been numb. But also, like I was saying, I don't know, right? A lot of it is uncharted territory to me. So I don't know, is it numb? Did I deal with a lot of the grieving already? Because one thing, somebody passes like in a car accident and it's a shock. And I don't want to say we kind of knew it was coming, but there was a good possibility of what was to come. So I don't want to say it softened the blow, right? Because no matter how you look at it, it sucks.
There's no real preparation.
No.
Yeah.
And my understanding is everybody grieves differently. But I did a lot of the grieving over the last 2 years. Kind of like in preparation for it. And just one thing that I know about myself, I'm always planning ahead, right? Which is a strong and a weak point at the same time, because it's good to plan ahead. But when you're constantly planning and looking ahead, you miss
the present moments.
You miss what's here.
Yeah.
That was me for a lot of it.
A lot of the time.
Yeah, just planning ahead. was good planning. Don't get me wrong, but you know, there's you, I guess if you say you gain on one end, but you lose on the other end. It taught me to be more present, you know?
Okay. Take us back to the day that she got the diagnosis, or you guys got the diagnosis.
Yeah. So my dog was having surgery. So I was at the vet waiting for them to finish so I could pick him up. And she had gotten her blood work back. And she was in the medical field, so she knew how to read her tests, and she knew something was wrong. So she when she saw the results, she took herself to the emergency room. And I was home. So she drove herself. I was home with the kids. And then I wake up at 6 a.m. and I look at my phone, and there was a text from her. And it said, I have stage 4 colon cancer.
Just like that?
Just like that. And it took me out. I went into the kids' room. I woke up my oldest daughter, and I just hugged her, and I just started crying. She couldn't understand why.
What was happening?
Yeah, but it rocked me, man. Like, I never got hit like that, you know, emotionally. I needed somebody to be there, and it was my daughter.
Right.
You know,
at that point, how do you explain it to the girls? Because you have 2 daughters. How old are they right now?
So the youngest is 6. The oldest is 12.
Okay. So
when she got diagnosed, she was 10 and 4.
4.
So the youngest, she's too young. She was too young to understand. But the 10-year-old, I kept it real with her, you know, to an extent, right?
Yeah.
Because you also have to understand, you know, she has the capacity of a 10-year-old, you know, and she's a smart girl. And I just told her what was happening. I don't think she knew how bad cancer was or any of that. So she didn't really, she heard it, but she didn't grasp it. But throughout the battle, she started to slowly, you know, understand like what was happening. Yeah.
At any point, did your youngest come to some type of understanding of what was happening?
No, not on. And I thought even till after my wife passed, that she was good. She was just too young to grasp the concept. She knows, you know, Mama passed away. She's with God. But then last week I had to go to the city on Thursday, and my daughter got sick, so I pushed it out till Friday. My mother came by, and I went to the city. And my mother calls me. She was like, "Hey, listen, I don't know what to do with her." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She locked herself in the bathroom, and she's
the
crying.
youngest.
Yeah. She's crying, and she won't come out till you come home. And I thought about it, and the only thing that I could think of was she's starting to put things together. That, okay, Mama's not coming back.
Right.
Papa's not here. He's gone. You know, however it is,
that may have scared her.
Processing it.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know maybe if I'm coming back.
Correct.
You know, and this is my mother. Like, she, you know, my mother raised her as well. So this wasn't like this was a stranger. But when I take her to school, she'll start crying. When I take her to jiu-jitsu, she'll cry. When I take her to swimming, she cries. She doesn't want to do anything. So yeah, so this whole time, you know, since she passed, I'm thinking, okay, you know, at least the youngest is taking it okay, just because she's too young to grasp it.
I think they know.
She's showing it in her own ways.
What do you, have you decided to do anything with the girls in the sense of like therapy, or it's more so just making sure family and community is around?
So I have my oldest in therapy, and we kept it pretty private. My wife didn't want anyone to know.
Okay.
But then once she was put on hospice,
yeah,
I kind of had to let the school know, because I didn't know how the kids were gonna react. So I let the school know, and they have counselors in school that they could speak to. My youngest gets pulled out of class. And she goes into a room with a counselor, and it just kind of, she asks her a couple of questions. Depending on how she answers, she just lets her play with the toys. My oldest, she'll have a couple of breakdowns here and there in school, and you know, she has a space to go to where she can speak to someone. But outside of that, I have her in therapy. I had to pause it because we were both on my wife's medical insurance.
Mm.
She worked for the hospital. She had great insurance.
Yeah.
3 days after she passed, this lady from HR called.
Immediately.
Yeah, 3 days. I didn't bury her. I had no death certificate, nothing. Saying, hey, sorry for your loss. Your medical's getting cut off in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right. Business as usual.
Yeah, for them, of course.
Yeah.
So I just transitioned them over to my insurance at work. It's gonna get retroactive. I just gotta wait to get the cards and everything to get them back in there.
Can you give us an image of your wife, who she was before her passing?
Yeah. Always smiling. She had a beautiful smile. Perfect teeth. People would think she had veneers. She didn't have veneers. We would be at Sloan, and the nurse would be like, "Did you get your teeth done? You have veneers?" And she's like, "No, even though she was sick, her teeth were still like nice and white and shiny."
Mm-hmm.
She taught me a lot. She taught me a lot, and I owe a lot to her. If not most of what I have. She nurtured our relationship. We met when she was 19. I was 21.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been together for 18 years.
Wow.
Always happy. Taught me to mend my relationship with my dad, with my mom, other family members. Just always try to see the cup as half full. I would not to say that I would be negative, but it was a nice balance. It was a nice balance between the two of us. And I nurtured her I don't want to say insecurities, but I gave her the confidence she needed to get to where she did career wise. And she did the same. She did the same for me. Yeah. And I learned just looking at our relationship and friends' relationships, the biggest decision you'll make is who your partner is. Because if you get with the wrong person, your trajectory is screwed.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get with the right person where, you're looking to build your finances together, you're both stable, or maybe one person's not stable and the other is, but can help out, you guys will go so far.
Or even in moments like what you experience when they say in sickness and in health, right? I could imagine certain people wouldn't be able to endure what you endured or what other people have endured with a sick spouse.
I don't think I would have been able to endure, but when you have kids and you have to run a household and the bills still got to get paid, you figure it out, especially as a man, you have even if the shoe was on the other foot, but you have to keep things going, try to keep the sanity for the kids and for your spouse, because they're also, I don't know her mental space, I know what I was feeling. I have a pretty good idea of how she was feeling, but you also don't want to be, you know what I mean? Like,
Okay, so you know how you were feeling. You have an idea of what she was feeling. Were you guys talking about it? Were you afraid to talk about it? It would make it feel more real. Did you have discussions checking in with each other to see how you guys were processing?
We were talking about it.
Uh-huh.
We always had great conversations. Always. That was one thing about a relationship. We could speak about anything. And I never really understood why does somebody need a therapist? You know what I mean? Like, especially like growing up poor, like, what do you mean a therapist? To figure it out.
Right.
And I realized I never needed a therapist because my wife was my therapist. Okay. I would come home regardless of whatever going on at work or with friends or just whatever in life, business. I could talk to my wife and we would, and you know what? If we were to get into an argument and she made a point and I was wrong, I never had an ego. I would say, you know what? That makes sense. You're right. I'm wrong. I'm sorry. And we would move on. And we did that for 18 years.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Most of the time I was wrong though. I'll admit that.
So for the 2 years, what was grieving like for you? So let me tap into your mental space. So you said you were being hopeful. You didn't want to be too negative. Were there moments, like you said, when you first got the news and you were crying with your daughter throughout the 2 years, were there moments where you felt like you needed to break down. You needed somewhere to process, maybe alone, away from everyone else, because maybe you were feeling a little negative at certain points.
There was a lot of those.
Okay.
I had a lot of breakdowns.
Okay.
But those breakdowns were away from everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I would get in my car, drive, and I would have tears, just breakdowns like I never had. And it was obviously it was good to let it out. The gym helped a lot. You know, I would always go to the gym to build muscle, and I never looked at the gym to give me mental clarity.
Mm-hmm.
The gym was releasing a lot of it, you know, and it got to a point where my wife was like, "Hey, I think you should spend a little more time at home. You're going to the gym a lot."
Okay.
And I would do anything for this woman. But at that point, I drew a hard line and I said, "Hey, I'm going to draw a line here. I'm not giving up the gym. It's the only thing that I have where I can release the anger and the pain." And she understood.
Okay.
But plenty of breakdowns throughout the 2 years. There were plenty of times when I wasn't hopeful, you know, like stage 4.
Right.
When you don't know anything about cancer and you're told stage 4, you're like, holy shit.
Right.
Can I curse?
It's okay.
All right.
I mean, don't start dropping F-bombs.
No. Yeah. Having a brain fart.
No, you're fine. You know what's interesting? You saying I'm having a brain fart. I don't know if it's just a moment that you're having, but I say that when you're in grief, brain fog happens.
All the time.
Memory lapse. Yeah, because I just finished doing an episode about my grief story, and I mentioned that. I said so many times, you're just like, what was I saying? What did you say? You can't remember. Everything just feels like you're in a daze.
Yeah, that's exactly how it feels.
Yeah.
I'll be having a conversation and it just leaves my mind and I'm like, I'm sorry, what were we talking about? It happens all the time.
One of my cousins said it's almost like your brain is trying to survive, because it's, I don't know how to explain it in the technical sense, but when she brought that up, it just made me think, like, is the brain trying to find ways to make sense of everything? Is it trying to shield itself from thinking about the grief? So your mind is kind of like glitching from time to time almost. So I don't know the technicalities of it all, but yeah, so
I look at it
fine.
like your life is this Rubik's Cube that's solved for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get thrown something like this and you start grieving, somebody just takes the Rubik's Cube and just twists it up and you're going through it, whether it takes months, years, you're trying to solve that Rubik's Cube and put the pieces together. And while you're doing that, you're just blanking out.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good analogy. Yeah. When she was in hospice, how were you two preparing at this point?
She was still in denial. She still
Really?
had hope. She's one of the mentally strongest people that I've ever met.
May we say your wife's name?
Stephanie.
Stephanie. Okay.
Yeah. Very mentally strong. Like, I'm not as near to the mental capacity of strength that she was. And she was hopeful till the very end. I think once they put her on hospice, we were in the room. The doctor was on the phone saying, "Hey, there's nothing else we could do." And I think at that point, all my pain just went away and I just became numb. Like,
it makes sense, yes.
You know, like it's just, wow, we're coming to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And she was on hospice for 3 weeks. Wow.
Okay. So it happened quick.
The nurse practitioner at MSK told me, she was like, listen, when it's spread to her liver, when it's liver failure, they usually go quick.
Okay.
I don't know, what does quick mean?
Yeah.
A week?
Right.
3 months?
Right.
I don't know.
Okay.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
With her being hopeful and you feeling numb, and forgive me if I want to be sensitive of how I approach every question.
You could say,
I know, but
you could just say, however.
Was there any type of logistic preparations? Like, if this were, or is it in a space of like, we're hopeful, I'm going to make it, we don't have to worry? Or was there a logistic preparation? Like, but if it does go left, here's the things we need to put into place.
So it's funny you bring that up.
Yeah.
because I told you I'm always here. I'm never here.
You did say that,
I'm
yeah.
always planning like as much as I can. I try to prep for everything.
Okay.
There's things you can't
Correct.
prep for, but logistically, I refinanced the cars. Whatever was in her name, I put in both names. This is just an example of.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
And I'm glad I did. I spoke to an attorney a couple of weeks ago, and I'm asking him, like, hey, listen, what's the deal with the cars? He's like, if she's on title, it's going to go to probate. And if there's any creditors out there, if she owed any money, they're gonna come for the cars. They're gonna try to get whatever they can get. I had refinanced everything a year ago. The rates dropped. It made sense, and I added myself to title. I don't have to worry about that. It doesn't go to probate. I started making sure either all her accounts had me as the beneficiary,
right? Yes.
Or whether we needed to open a new account, joint account. Every single account. Well, she had her own account, her own accounts. I had my own accounts. We also had joint accounts. But for the most part, prior to that, we had our own accounts. And I know relationship-wise, people would say, you need to have a joint account. It worked for us for 18 years.
Yeah, everybody makes their own choice.
Right.
Yeah.
But once this happened, I made sure everything was in a joint account. And then once she was on hospice, whatever was depending on which account, I started moving money out of those accounts into my account. I didn't know how there's no, nobody tells you how this is, if you've never dealt with it, how it's going to work. So I just started moving everything into my accounts. And if there was joint ownership, there's nothing the creditors can go after. I'm a joint owner. It just passes on to me. Probate was what I wanted it to avoid. Because,
correct.
And I still I spoke to her HR department, and they said, hey, we owe her some PTO money, but we can't just cut you a check. You have to go to probate court, open up whatever it is, so that we can pay it.
Yeah.
But then I get a letter in the mail also that disability, hey, we overpaid her, we need the money.
Wow.
And it has to come out of
the PTO?
Out of her estate.
Her estate, all right.
So this is what I was trying to avoid, right?
Yeah.
Now, if anyone's coming after anything. And we build a pretty comfortable financially life together. So there was a lot for me to lose. There was a lot for her to lose. She had no life insurance. She had a little bit in her 401k that I had when she started working. I helped her set up, and I made sure I made sure that she put me as a beneficiary, and obviously I had all of my stuff with work and everything.
Yeah.
Her as my beneficiary.
Yeah. I usually tell people this, and I had an episode 3 years ago on the podcast about estate planning. And with many families, it's usually when the person passes, whoever passes is when everybody's scrambling, trying to figure things out. Or if someone is sick, like you said, they start to prepare. But I tell anyone, even before anything happens, we should always be prepared in some sense with our estate. Like you said, with our accounts, beneficiaries, and like we talk about wills, but now the talk about trust, opening a trust account, you know what I mean? And who does it go to when the time passes? You can always make changes to it, but to have something solidified is very important. So the fact that you already thought about it, and I would say that although some people would say, oh, so you are preparing for something to happen, but for you, I think you just had the sense, and for lack of better words, to be like, things need to be put into place regardless for the family. So
I think a lot of people it's a difficult conversation to have.
Correct.
And I don't know what it is, but if people don't think they're going to die or they don't want to accept it, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
I'm going to die. Like, it's all going to go.
Right.
So I don't want the government to get my cut.
Correct.
I've worked too hard. Like, I came to this country, as a kid with nothing. And everything I got, I earned. I'm not giving it to the government.
Right.
I'm going to make sure my kids get it. And so it wasn't hard for me to plan. I just knew I didn't want the government to, because if you have all this money and you're not prepared,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get family members coming out of the woodworks.
Correct.
Obviously wasn't the case for us, but
Mm-hmm.
depending on your family and the situation, especially in probate, right? Because you can
Yeah.
have a will and you can say, hey, I want to leave
And I'll still have to go.
I want to leave this to this person.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your decision. The judge is going to decide that, right? Because now if somebody comes to court and says, no, I have the right to it.
Correct.
And if they have a strong argument,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what you put in your will, you're not making that decision. The judge is.
Mm-hmm.
The trust is not. The trust is, and in that point where or case
Solidifies
where
it.
you would want to put it in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she didn't have a will. I had a will or have a will.
Mm-hmm.
I got to redo everything now.
Yeah.
Right? Because everything in the will was for her, and I'm gonna create a trust. It's a little more expensive.
It is
to create a trust. Probably not a little. It's a lot more expensive to create a trust, but it is worth it because depending on how much you have.
Correct.
I don't want Uncle Sam in my pocket any more than it needs to be.
Yeah.
You
Understood.
know?
You mentioned family. How was prior to her passing? You said much people didn't know, but for those that did know, how did you guys have community around you with friends or even family?
We had support. Probably not as much as myself or Steph would want. She wouldn't really tell them. They knew it was serious, but I guess after a year, okay, she's here for a year. She's here a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Things kind of start to level out. And people are like, oh, she's okay. In that time we were traveling. We went to Portugal. We went to a bunch of other places. She's not really like updating them on the week to week like me and her were. In those rooms talking to those doctors. She kind of wanted to keep a lot of it private. I will say there was a point like about a year in, maybe a little less, where it was potentially possible for her to get a liver transplant because it like I was saying earlier, it went to her liver. Mm-hmm. But she needed a donor. Mm-hmm. And so some people may know, some people may not. You can donate a part of your liver to somebody else and it'll regrow. Yeah, your liver will regenerate itself.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The ultimate test, right? To see who would be there for you. Hey, I need an organ. Mm-hmm. And so we asked everyone in the family, hey, Steph needs a liver. Who's willing, this is her blood type. Mm-hmm. You have to be compatible. Who's willing to do it? And the only two people that came forward was me and her brother. Mainly because everyone else had a different blood type.
Okay.
But I got in contact with a kidney and liver matchmaker. Okay. And it's a nonprofit. It's this one lady that runs it, and she matches people up. And at that when I spoke to her at that point, the door opened up for everyone because this person might not be a match for my wife, but they might be a match for someone else who might have a family member who might be a match for Steph. Right. And even then, nobody stepped up. Yeah.
How did that feel?
How did that feel? I don't want to say that people didn't love her, but that was like the ultimate. You know what I mean? Like who's willing to, I don't want to say die for me, because it's a risk involved to major surgery, but who's willing to get cut open for me and give me a part of their organ. And like I said, it was me and her brother were the only ones that really stepped up to it.
I guess in my mind, I'm like, I guess I'm thinking of it for myself. Like in one part, I'm like, it is a major surgery. Maybe the people or the persons have fears. But then the other part of you is like, wow, like no one, or not no one, but like people that I would think would step up to the plate wouldn't. I don't know. I find it maybe sensitive. But did you hold resentment? Did you feel resentment?
It's a good question. I was a little angry. I was disappointed. There was a little bit of resentment. not just for me, but for my wife also, right? Because you're not asking for a quarter. You know, you're asking for something major.
That's what I'm saying.
But you're also not asking strangers.
Right.
Just to go through the motions to see if you're a match. Because just because you're willing to do it doesn't mean you'll be a match. There's a lot of hurdles you have to go through.
Testing, yeah.
Even though like blood type, I could have donated, but my liver anatomy was not compatible with her body.
Okay.
And it also didn't work out with her brother. I had a friend of mine who was willing to do it.
Really?
Yeah. I had a friend of mine who was willing to do it. That really, surprised me, because I haven't spoken to him in a while. We reconnected. He was on the West Coast and he was willing to do it. So it was just like, damn, like my boy's willing to do it. My rabbi was willing to do it. But people on her side weren't really stepping up like that. And yeah, there was a lot of tears at the funeral.
Right.
But when it came down to who's going to donate or who's willing to donate or go through the test, it wasn't as many people. Certain people were there for her and for us once she was on hospice or towards the end of that journey. But the majority of that journey
was mainly you and her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There wasn't a lot of support. There was support, I don't want to discredit anyone, but there wasn't a lot of support.
So, and I don't want to stick too long like we're trying to get at family members, but what did it look like then after? You said funeral, there's a lot of tears. How has it been thus far? Because how long has it been from
today? A month.
A month.
Yeah.
What has the past month looked like? With family first, with family.
It's been fine.
Okay.
It's been fine. They've called, they've reached out, they've texted to see how I'm doing, how the girls are doing. I don't hold any resentment. Steph wouldn't want me to hold resentment, or anything like that. So I don't. Still have a pretty good relationship with her brother. We communicate. I want to say fairly frequently.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't hold any resentment towards anyone.
And for yourself, what has this past month looked like? I know you said numb, and I know when we spoke, you mentioned that most of your grieving was done prior to her passing. Do you still believe that?
I do. I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of months in after she was diagnosed, I was in Costco food shopping, and we would usually go to Costco together. I just had a breakdown in Costco. I just started crying, and I'm like, holy shit, like this is how it would be if it's just me, if she wasn't here.
Yeah.
And so I had to go to Costco.
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, I didn't have that breakdown in Costco. I didn't have that breakdown in Costco because I had it a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? Like
I do.
There's a first for everything after they pass.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to say.
First time on a plane, first Mother's Day, which is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
First everything.
Yeah.
I've had breakdowns in the gym. I still go to the gym. I haven't had a breakdown in the gym, although when a certain song comes on,
reminds you.
I tear up. But those are the best workouts I have. Not to say that I want those tears, but when they come, I put them to use.
Yeah, it's healing.
Yeah,
it's healing.
Yeah, but yeah, the last month, I've been managing it, and also, remember when she was on hospice, she couldn't do a lot of the things for herself. It was a mental transition, but physically or logistically, I've been the one waking up in the morning, getting the kids ready, making them lunch, preparing them to school, taking them to school, taking them to swimming, jiu-jitsu, and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the day-to-day really hasn't changed besides that I'm no longer a caretaker.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. But it's been like that for a couple of months. I don't want to say it's a smooth transition, but there was a transition, and I'll say I like to think that during this whole time I prayed a lot, and I asked God obviously for her to make it, but I also asked God for strength for me to deal with this because I didn't know how I was going to, and I'd like to think this is the strength that I prayed for.
Okay. Because what I was going to say, you said that beautifully. What I was going to say is that what I've learned throughout this season on speaking to individuals about grief, or even myself learning things, grief doesn't have one face, you know? So although you may not be breaking down as frequently, you're still in a grief process. The brain fogs are grief. Like you said, the first that are coming around, it's going to be a part of your grief process. Having conversations with your daughters as they grow and they miss their mother is going to be a part of your grief process. So I would say maybe the intensity of the grief, maybe you felt it in the past 2 years, but I also want you to know that you have room to say that you are still grieving and will be grieving.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. The other thing I'll say is that makes it or adds a layer to it. You're grieving for yourself, but you also have to grieve for your kids,
I was going to ask you that. Yes.
you know, because it hit my oldest pretty hard, you know. And she asked me a lot of spiritual questions that I don't have the answers to.
Mm-hmm.
Try to, you know, get her the answers when I can, or I just direct her to a rabbi.
Mm-hmm.
But she has breakdowns, and she asks me questions that I don't know how to answer.
Okay.
And again, I'm grieving, but that's a whole other layer of grief that I have to deal with, you know, and it breaks me down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're there watching your daughter weeping,
in pain,
asking questions.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you could do but be there for them.
Correct.
You can't take the pain away.
Correct.
You know, and I try to obviously be there for both of them, hug them, kiss them, and they know I'm there for them. But it's a whole other layer of grief to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're dealing with your own, and then you're dealing
with your children,
with theirs.
Yeah. Do you feel like sometimes, and I would think as a father, you find it nothing. It's not anything complicated per se to do for them, but do you find yourself sometimes saying that I have to put my grief aside right now to concentrate on theirs in the moment? So what does that look like? And have you thought of the process of, I guess that's a question for me too, like how do you balance that? How do you make sense of, I know I need to still process mine and move through mine and not suppress mine, but also have room for my children, almost to the point of my children actually come first in their grieving process, you know? So what, have you thought about that? I guess because I'm thinking about it.
When I see them grieving, I put my grief and my pain aside, right? Because how can I explain it? Like I'm their father, right? They're looking to me for guidance.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're put in that position, they come, if you're a decent parent or a good parent, you'll put them first.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever's going on with me, I put that aside. I could deal with it later. You know, if I have to suppress it, I'll suppress it as much as I can, realistically. And I try to be there for them because I can't grieve. You know what I mean? For them. Like I'm grieving. I guess I am grieving for them in my own way, but
of course,
I can't take her grief away.
Correct.
So I would put whatever I'm going through aside. They're my kids. I want to make sure they're all right. And I'm willing to do anything as far as that goes. Mentally, emotionally, physically.
Yeah. I would think it would be also a beautiful experience because I saw on your page that you were posting that you guys went on a little getaway for Passover, spending time with each other. And you said it in the caption that this is the first time going away without Stephanie. But I would imagine that when we're talking about putting your grief aside and, you know, making space for theirs, but there's also space for all of you to grieve at the same time, to have moments to cry together. If you're able to, because sometimes certain people might be like, I can handle my own tears, but I can't handle all of us crying at the same time. You know what I mean? So I wonder, do you see yourself having those spaces with your daughter where you all get the space to grieve together?
We haven't all cried together.
Mm-hmm.
If I see my daughter crying and, you know, going through her breakdown, I tear up.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to suppress those tears and those emotions because I just feel like I can't be there for her the way I want to.
Understood.
And that's not to say that it's the right or the wrong way to do it, right?
Correct.
Because it's also healthy for them to to see your emotions,
Mm-hmm.
I think, and your tears. But also, as a man, you kind of feel like you need to suppress those to be there for them, you know. But we haven't like all three of us. Again, my youngest, she's channeling it in her own way, where we haven't had to. And if I'm having my moments, I don't want to bring them into
Understood.
my moment. I'll do that on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And if my oldest is having her moment, I want to be there for her in any capacity. But we haven't like all cried together.
In this moment, how do you see yourself? I guess this is my last question. How do you see yourself keeping your wife's memory alive within yourself and in the lives of your daughters?
That's a good question. Shay, I'm the best version of myself that I've ever been. It came at a price. It came at a very big price. I'm the best father I've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the best man that I've ever been. Just every version of myself. The man that my wife has always wanted, I became. And I had this conversation with her before she passed, because I had to step up a lot. I'll give you an example. I'm the only child. I never had to do dishes. My mother would do the dishes. She would do the laundry. I never had to do the laundry. And my wife would always ask for help. But hey, can you do the laundry? Hey, can you do the dishes? And those are still two things that I hate doing to this day. Laundry.
Okay.
I have to do it. I don't have a choice.
Right.
But those are the things that I started doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I became a version of myself that my wife always wanted. And she said, we had a conversation where she said, damn, you became the man I always wanted just for me to die and for the next chick to get it.
Ooh, mercy.
And
that's real though.
Yeah.
That's real.
It is. And I don't know if I would have reached this level of whatever this is. I might have probably would have. I'm a late bloomer. It probably would have took me a long time. But the fact that I am that version of myself now, it came at a very heavy price.
Yes.
I was thinking about it. This very thing we're talking about on the way here. Was it worth it? I mean, okay, I'm the best version of myself, but what? I have my wife now. I wasn't a bad version of myself, but I would give up the best version of myself to have my wife again. So a lot of times, we want all these things, but some of those things come at a very big price. And not everyone's willing to pay that price, or you may not want to pay that price.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess the silver lining with as bad as things turned out to be, I am the best version of myself. I get up every morning at 5:30 in the morning. Girls are still sleeping. I go to the gym. I get my workout in. I come home. I make their lunch. They're waking up, taking them to school. I come home. I open my laptop. I start working. Workout's done. I've always wanted to hit the gym early and just get it out of the way. And just being more present with them. Right?
Yes.
Taking them to everything. My job's been pretty good. Pretty flexible with me. And I've still been able to get all of my work done without missing a beat, and still being present for my kids, for all of my wife's appointments, for all the surgeries, for all the chemo treatments and everything. And I'm very thankful for that, and the people that I work with for allowing me to be there to the capacity that I was able to be for the last 2 years of her life.
Yeah. Man, that statement is so heavy, but it's so real. Like you said, at what cost of being the best version of yourself? But and I'll leave it right there. I just wanted to acknowledge that it's a beautiful sentiment and awareness that you're having right now. In connection to that, I guess I'm also curious about that. Has your definition of love changed? How in the beginning of your marriage, through the illnesses, that you realized showing up in the essence of love probably looked different?
I wouldn't say my definition of love has changed, but I know what love looks like. And I'm obviously not ready to get back out there by any means, but I know what love looks like. And I also have an idea of the landscape out there, just from friends dating. I probably won't find that again. I'm pretty aware of that. But to be able to experience the love that we had and the relationship that we had, I can't tell you like how great our relationship was. Friends would always tell us, wow, you guys are so great together. And again, that's not to say we didn't have arguments.
Of course.
There's no relationship without that. But we kept things private.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked out every single argument. And I'll say, I listen to some of your podcasts, but to tie that in, there's a lot of envy that comes with that. You having a good relationship. You might think some of your friends are happy for you. She had a friend or two who would always say, "Oh, you and Dee are so good together. You guys have such a great relationship." And I would always tell her, "Pay attention to what they're saying. They're not saying it out of the goodness of their heart. They're saying it out of envy." And those same people were not around at all for the last 2 years of her life. Those same friends.
Wow.
So again, you might have a good relationship, and people will envy that, and you should keep things private as much as you can. If you buy a property together, shut up. Nobody needs to know. You know, I know it's dope to put it on Instagram or whatever. It's like, look what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
All that is look at me. You know, you want the attention. Forget the attention. You know, if you're gonna stack. Nobody needs to know about it. People ruin things.
That's a good point. Thank you so much. I appreciate you wanting to even have the conversation, share it with me and my audience. Because this is the first time we've talked about it, via messaging. I knew that she was sick. We spoke about it. But this is the first time I'm getting like the full picture of everything that you and your wife and your children have been through. So I just appreciate you coming here and sharing it with me and my audience. Is there any last minute thing you would like to share? If not, that's okay. But just want to give you the space too, if you want.
I hope everyone finds them a Stephanie. I really do. Everyone needs a Stephanie in their life. She always made you see things from a bright side. Yeah, I hope everyone finds their Stephanie.
I hope so too.